have been reflecting and trying to understand the pandemic in the light of the little knowledge gained by reading and reflecting. Like the Arabi, there's a dweller, a simpleton, who asked Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, about the rope. I, in similar way, and unlike an Arabi, having no scholastic knowledge, am trying to seek an answer. With technology at a command, I googled the question: does COVID 19 have a soul? The answer that popped up is as follows. Taken from the perspective of the universe, single cells have a soul which can be called energy, ki, prana, which actually creates and perpetuates the spirit, is the beginning of all bodies. Every living organism, from the single cell to the largest banyan tree, has a simple basic soul which helps in the growth. Coming to understand the above, my question, after all, is not that of a Majnoon, mad, or a simpleton guy. It has some credence. So I started to read and reflect in the hope that, in my small way, I am to contribute towards better understanding as to why COVID 19 is so hell bent on turning our world upside down, creating havoc and taking human lives as if it mattered little. As I write this, the COVID 19 worldwide count stands at 6,160,290, with 371,006 deaths. In India, at the start of lockdown on 25th March 2020, the people afflicted stood at 657 cases and 12 deaths, which as on 1st June 2020, when lockdown is partially eased, largely on account of economic consideration, the figures stand at 181,827 afflicted and 5,164 deaths. To make matters worse, the medical experts are predicting a second wave as lockdown's restrictions are slowly being eased worldwide. Islam encourages to reflect, think, and ask questions. The Quran encourages people to think, reflect, and ask questions in such an explicit manner. The purpose of the Quran is to liberate the mind from the shackles of headlessness and ignorance. To have decided to reflect, read, and to find an answer as to why COVID 19, this tiny whiny virus, is out there to ruin our lives. Why? Oh, why? Is it a wrong soul? Or an avenger soul of the millions of hapless God's creations, souls trampled without a thought of feeling by the relentless greed of humanity? Let us find it out as we undertake a quest. Creative and critical thinking starts by asking the question, why? Islam teaches us in order to understand the creation of God, we should start with asking questions like why, what, how, etc. This will help us in better understanding. The Quran constantly asks questions so that people can reflect in their purpose in life, creation, death, and hereafter. The Quran asks people to question how everything came into existence. Were they created from nothing, or did they create themselves? So let us embark on a quest of understanding this pandemic. True knowledge is power, and understanding is the first step. Now the million-dollar question. As to why COVID 19 is out here turning a world upside down. As if human life doesn't matter. Why? Oh why? Why, oh why, is the question that the helpless creation of God have been asking us humans for the past several years. And we humans, in agreed to have more and more, have been totally headless to the plight of God's creation. The natural habitats and the animal kingdoms and the rich natural resources have been asking humans for the past several years. Why, oh why? What wrong we have done? What was our sin? Humans are the best of God's creation, top of the chain. We have been created specially to serve you. Just see what you have been doing. Humans have been driving out 30,000 species to existence per year, about 3 every hour. Humans have destroyed wildlife habitats at rate approximately 5,760 acres per day at 240 acres per hour. Humans have been killing species across land, rivers, seas for food. Earth has lost half of its wildlife in the past 40 years. I can go on and on the wanton destructions of God's creation, which was created to serve you humans. Hope now we are getting to understand a little as to who's responsible in large to this pandemic. It is payback time, folks. What you saw that you reap, the blame of COVID 19 boomerangs on us humans collectively. No particular community or country needs to be blamed. The helpless creation of God, specially created to serve His best creations, we humans, have been suffering all these past years in silence. But God on high, who always gives the long rope to His best creation to amend, also says in the Quran, Surah Al Rum 30, Ayah 41, Evil has appeared on land and sea, wanton destruction resulting from human greed, of what the hand of men have earned, that he may make them taste a part of that which they have done. So, as of now, the simpleton in me has managed to understand the why of the pandemic. Hope my readers will agree. Destroyed habitat creates a perfect condition for coronavirus to emerge, and instead of blaming ourselves, we are demolishing the poor bats, which is regarded as one of the wondrous, amazing, and perfect creations of God. As to understanding of how to control the pandemic, the best of scientific brains around the world are working, and the courageous frontline health workers are putting their life in line to control the pandemic. God has created countless living and non living, and all with a purpose. His entire creation is wondrous, amazing, and perfect. Maurice Bucali stated in his booklet, The Quran and Modern Science, that there are enormous scientific assets in the verse of Quran. We are resting all the blame on the bats for our present misery and forgetting that we humans are responsible for bringing it on upon us because of our own greed and gluttony. It is widely believed that COVID 19 appeared to shake us up all from our headlessness from the wet markets of Wuhan selling bats and exotic pangolin. Both are harmless creatures living in isolation, but when human greed encroaches on wild habitats, it creates opportunity for pathogens to jump to livestock and humans. The problem is with us humans. It is just possible that if we had left bats in peace, our world economy would not be tattered and we would be going about our normal ways. Humans have been slaughtering bats and other wildlife animals for food and medicinal value. Payback time, humans. 5,000 tons of high quality Roquefort and blue cheese will be going waste on account of pandemic in Europe. The global food system is responsible for up to 30% of total greenhouse gas emissions according to Lancet study. In India, scientists working at the Forensic Laboratory of Wildlife Institute of India have found that majority of wildlife killings in India in the past 32 years took place just to fulfill people's gastronomic desires. Now coming to bats, who live an isolated life, have an excellent immune system, and the echolocation sounds of bats, along with dolphins, clicks, have greatly helped in medical ultrasound imaging development. And to top it, let me share that bats who eat insects that harm crops and vegetation. Just two examples. 1. Are saving Indonesian coca farmers $800 million a year, which they would otherwise have to spend on pest control. 2. Likewise, in US, the corn farmers are saving $22 billion a year. The populating bats, who live on flower nectar, also help the mangroves to grow and thus save humanity from the effects of storm. All of God's creations are out there to help humans. Oh, headless humans! It is you, on account of greed and gluttony, are to blamed. So my readings and reflecting show that in order to save ourselves till a vaccine is found, we should at individual levels start admitting and accepting our mistakes and seek forgiveness. Self-realization is the first step. God is all-seeing, all-knowing. However, in Islam, seeking forgiveness has also some preconditions. Realization and acceptance of our sin are the first step to seeking forgiveness. But there is a catch in Islam, and that always proves to be a stumbling block for us humans. That is, a formation with true conviction that the sin for which forgiveness is being beseeched will not be repeated. This is the most difficult part, as we humans tend to forget easily once we come out of a crisis. Is that not true? Agreed on account of insatiable greed of humans against the other animal kingdoms of God out there, created by His mercy to help His best creation, is the main reason of our suffering. But then the Arabi in me asks, why am I to suffer? In all my life, I have not cut a tree. I recall not even having plucked a flower in past several years. Yes, admit occasionally squatted at home flies and killed a few lizards who showed up over the years to frighten my dear wife. Hope my readers will also be having the same question. Yes, big multinational companies and government agencies who should be protecting the environment in order to feed their bottom line, out of greed and selfishness, have brought us harm. God has created different kingdoms having specific governing laws and hierarchies, and all answerable to Him on the day of judgment. The kingdom of heaven's angels, the kingdom of humans, the kingdom of animals, the kingdom of nature. As we are part of the human kingdom, we are governed by the laws of our kingdom, and as we get to enjoy and satiate our desires and wishes by the discoveries and progress made by the human race over centuries. Likewise, we suffer collectively for the ills and the sins of a few among us. But on Judgment Day, our individual actions will be taken into account, and our leaders and evildoers among us will be questioned for their deeds. Just a few current examples. Before the pandemic landed on American shores, the American people tolerated President Trump. In spite of his loose character and penchant for false statements, 18,000 and still counting is reported in American press, because the economy under him was booming and everyone was happy. The financial gain was the driver overriding all of his shortcomings. As a payback, under the pandemic, the American population has suffered much for his harsh, whimsical decisions taken during crisis. Him overriding his own medical advisory board, with his sole focus on winning the upcoming presidential elections. The American economy is in tatters, and the death toll has crossed 1 lakh. Otherwise, Brazilian's president Jair Bolsonaro worries more about the economy than thousands of lives lost, knowing that most of the deaths are that of poor people living in favelas. It's a shanty town. In India, the plight of migrant workers trudging home on foot, hungry and uncared, for hundreds of miles has been a nightmare. The UP government sanitizing its own migrants who trudge hundreds of miles on their way back home with sanitized water through hoses is so very disturbing and disgusting. The political leaders may win another election if they are destined to win, but they and their progeny will be answerable to the plight and suffering of lakhs if they have made that rash decision. They are the only ones privy to their own thoughts and actions. I know not. God surely knows. Just 3 out of thousands. Just recall the tyrants who ruled and the populace that supported it. Each and every one will be answerable and no one will be wronged. Hope the above examples enough to clear understanding that we are all one and part and parcel of what is God's kingdom of humans. We enjoy the fruit of our progress and also suffer the ills. A very meaningful quote of Khalid Gibran will help you understand why we as humans suffer collectively, although at individual levels we may not done any wrong. Read it twice for better understanding. It is like a mental vaccine. As a single leaf turns not yellow, but with the silent knowledge of the whole tree. So the wrongdoer cannot do wrong without the hidden will of you all. This makes it crystal clear. The COVID 19 pandemic has given us a window of opportunity to make amends at individual level. Grab it. It will be a blessing to take this opportunity to work out our shortcomings and character building. Start thinking and planning to undertake all good humanitarian acts that will help us when time comes to lie 6 feet under the ground. For your shroud has no pockets. Humanity has suffered from the heedlessness. I feel COVID-19 pandemic has taught us humans a lesson which should not be easy to forget. Realization and seeking forgiveness is what will protect us till the vaccine is found. Just one impactful change, and there will be many more to come, is a recent announcement by tech giant Google and Facebook. The majority of their employees are to work from home till 2021. This will greatly ease the pressure of choking cities as people will move out and also save a high rent and have better living conditions and healthy lifestyle in gated neighborhoods away from the city. The simpleton in me is seeing a new dawn on the horizon. However, it has pained me a great deal to know that even educated and so called cultured have been attaching stigmas to those families who have lost their loved ones to COVID 19. A rich and so called educated family refusing to accept the daughter in law, who had gone into labor and admitted for delivery, contracted COVID 19, along with her newborn, was shunned and not accepted by the in law family, and after many futile attempts, finally got treatment in a dedicated COVID 19 hospital, and both child and mother got cured. Disgusting indeed. Those healthcare workers who venture out each day, risking their lives knowingly, or the innocent among us who venture out to serve their families, if they become COVID 19 positive and die, remember this. Get it right. It is not for the sins, but they have sacrificed their life for the collective sins and the headlessness of us humans. Instead of attaching stigma, offer prayer for the soul. Who are you to judge? Look inwards to yourself. To attach stigma to one's suffering of COVID 19 is repulsive behavior, and hope my reflective writing may have helped in proper understanding. I conclude my reflection by offering my heartfelt condolence to families of those whose loved ones have succumbed to this pandemic. When we see hundreds of bodies in black protective sheets being lowered in graves, with no family or one or two around it, it breaks my heart. They had suffered and died on account of the collective sins, greeds, and headlessness of us humans. We are all in it. Remember this and seek repentance and offer prayers, and who knows till the vaccine is found. For this very act of understanding and prayers, you may be saved. Reach out to those in need of your help. Make the best of this opportunity and become a good human being. If you have found this interesting and enlightening, do share the link with your family and friends. Until next time.